Hi, I'm Scott Murphy. I was born and raised in Roswell, Georgia. Roswell is a northern suburb of Atlanta. I am the only child of Patrick and Patricia Murphy. My mother had a disability from the time that she was born. My mother was born deaf, and my father, he is a person who served in the United States Marine Corps honorably, and that's when I was born. I was born as he was just being discharged from the Marine Corps. My father worked at Yellow Freight in the Atlanta area for all of his life. He retired about 5 years ago. My call to ministry and my journey of faith is quite unique. In fact, every minister that I've ever met has a unique call to ministry, a unique journey of their own personal faith. My personal faith is unique in the sense that I didn't grow up going to church. And I think that's interesting, being the fact that I was born and raised in the Deep South. Jesus is so heavily talked about in the Deep South, and is such an integral part to culture down here. But I didn't go to church. My mother and my father were products in the 1960s, and when they got married, they made the conscious decision of not going to church anywhere. So I didn't know about Jesus. Jesus was not a part of my upbringing. We celebrated Christmas and had a Christmas tree, but I never went to church at all. How Jesus became a part of my life was actually through the game of football. I excelled in football. I was the starting quarterback at Milton High School in Alpharetta, Georgia. In fact, my senior year of high school, I was ESPN's 11th best quarterback in the state of Georgia. I know I don't look like a quarterback anymore. And the Atlanta Journal and Constitution picked me as the 17th best quarterback in the entire state of Georgia for that particular senior class. That particular year, my senior year, a lot of different things took place. But through football, I developed a really close friendship with my high school football coach. And through that opportunity of getting to know him, he would take time with me to work with me on the football field and help develop me to be the best athlete that I possibly could be. And through that relationship, he started sharing with me who Jesus happened to be. He shared with me the stories of Christ. And through that relationship, I began to fall in love with this character named Jesus. I started going to Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and he hooked me up with the church. I started going to First Christian Church of Roswell, Georgia, and was baptized into Christ at that particular point in my life. As I had mentioned, football was such a huge part of my upbringing, and it's such a huge part of my life. And that's kind of a huge part of how I became called by God into ministry. A couple of events took place after I fell in love with Christ and after I started going to church. Two of those events were kind of integral. The summer after I had graduated from high school, I was offered a full football scholarship to Middle Georgia College, which is a 2-year junior college in Cochran, and also to Georgia Military College, which is a 2-year junior college in Milledgeville, Georgia. I had turned both of those scholarship offers down because it was always my dream to play college football and possibly win a Heisman Trophy at the University of Georgia. I know that kind of seems to be a dream that could not be realized, but that was something that I've always wanted to do and play for the Dogs. But a couple of events took place that summer before I went off to college. The first event took place was I was in a severe car accident. Like most high school students who had just graduated and they're about to go to college, their parents are a little bit more lackadaisical in regard to their curfew. And so there was one particular evening that I was up late at night out with my friends, and that next morning I had a job as a lifeguard. I was working in downtown Atlanta at a particular community as a lifeguard, and that morning I had got home about 5 o'clock in the morning, had to wake up at 7, and that morning on the way to work into downtown, I fell asleep on the road, and my car slammed into a bridge, slammed into a wall on a bridge, and my car flipped over 3 times. I actually bit through my tongue on impact. Had a hard time walking. I didn't have the physical ability to play football anymore. And so I knew that that dream of playing college football was over. It was a low point in my life. And about a week after that, the second event took place. One of my closest friends, Ray Latham, his father was a United Methodist pastor. Ray and I were very, very close. And Ray was doing a mission trip. He was doing a mission trip in South America. And he was on the ValueJet plane crash that crashed into the Florida Everglades. And those two particular events in life really had me thinking about the afterlife, thinking about death, thinking about what it means to be a Christian and what happens when you die. what happens when you have that moment, when you breathe your last breath. And so a lot of those events and a lot of those things came into play in my life. And I started thinking about ministry. And I kind of felt God was molding me into ministry at that time. From that moment on, I completely changed. Every time the church doors were open, whether it was for Sunday school, for morning worship, for Sunday evening worship, for midweek Bible study, whether there was a revival, at the age of 18, when the doors were open, I went. And so at that particular time, I was starting to acknowledge and accept and give into my call where God was calling me into ministry. And I really felt that God was calling me to reach people just like Scott Murphy, to reach people who were the unchurched, to bring them to a relationship with Christ and make church something very important to their lives. I received a bachelor's degree in Bible in 1999 from the Theological University of America, which is a Church of Christ school for distance education. After graduating from TUA, I also received another undergraduate degree, a Bachelor of Arts in Christian Counseling from Louisiana Baptist University. I received a Master of Sacred Literature from Louisville Bible College, which Louisville Bible College is a college affiliated with the Christian Churches and Churches of Christ. Received a Master of Sacred Literature in Practical Ministry from Louisville Bible College. Then in 2009, I enrolled at Phillips Theological Seminary, and Phillips is a school affiliated with the Christian Church Disciples of Christ, and I enrolled in the Master of Divinity program. I will graduate this May with a Master of Divinity from Phillips. I have started thinking about what I want to do beyond my MDiv. And beyond the MDiv, I've already been accepted into the Doctorate of Ministry program at a couple of different seminaries. I've been accepted into the Doctorate of Ministry program at Lincoln Christian University and Seminary, which is affiliated with the Independent Christian Churches and Churches of Christ. I've been accepted to Asbury Theological Seminary, and Asbury is a non-denominational seminary in Wilmore, Kentucky, which is a phenomenal school that has a great reputation. And I've also been accepted into the Doctorate of Ministry program at Louisiana Baptist University and Seminary in Shreveport, Louisiana. So beyond the MDiv, my plans are to pursue a Doctorate of Ministry. I was ordained into ministry at the First Christian Church in Lebanon Junction, Kentucky in 2002. In 2002, I married the love of my life, Christy. And Christy and I have had a wonderful, wonderful marriage. Christy received her undergraduate degree from the University of Kentucky and received a master's degree from Bellarmine University. She's a public school teacher. She has taught special education, middle school mathematics, elementary education. She is someone who has been a phenomenal servant in the public school system, and she has been a wonderful asset to me in ministry. We have 3 children. Our son Caleb was born on November 13th of 2006. Catherine, our second child, was born on August the 9th of 2008. And our third child, Rebecca, she was born on December the 7th of 2009. Caleb is a little kid who enjoys basketball. He's played organized sports in basketball. He enjoys baseball, and he really wants to play Little League football. Caleb is just a kid who has a heart of gold, and I had the privilege of baptizing Caleb recently into Christ. In regard to our other 2 children, Catherine is a pistol. Catherine is just a sweet little girl. She is enjoying cheerleading, and she just enjoys making sure that her mom and dad stay on their toes. Our third child, Rebecca, she just turned 4, and Rebecca is into a little bit of everything. She loves to cheerlead, play with her Barbies, and they are just wonderful, wonderful kids. The Lord has really, really blessed me with my family. Every pastor that I've ever met, whether it be pastors that I have known when I was a kid or pastors now that are my friends and colleagues in ministry, every pastor has their own unique gifts and talents and graces that the Lord has given them in ministry. For me, one of my biggest things in ministry is evangelism. I will preach evangelism every single Sunday, somehow or another. I think it is the number one job of every single Christian to be inviting their friends and their neighbors and their co-workers and their family and every person they know into church. Because church is a special place. It's a holy place. It's a place where people get connected and build that relationship with Christ. I would also say that my gifts in administration and also pastoral care and visiting those folks who are in the hospital or dealing with a traumatic event within their life is something that I am very good at. Every pastor also has weaknesses. I will tell you that I am not the best teacher in the world. I love pastoral care. I'm very good at administration. Preaching is probably my biggest strength. But in regard to teaching, I just do not have the gifts and abilities that someone else may have. But most of my ministry has been in rural areas and small communities, maybe the typical small county seat type of situation. And that's kind of where I've done ministry. I feel that I could serve in an urban area, in a large population such as Atlanta or New York City or Los Angeles, or I feel that I could serve well in a small rural setting, a county seat type of situation. So I really feel that I can kind of go and adapt to whatever situation the Lord has called me to. What I'm really looking forward to in ministry, and this is kind of something that a church will have to look for as a pastor, and also that I'm going to have to look for as a church, is want to make sure that I'm finding that right fit. I'm not looking for a short-term ministry. I'm looking for a place where I could call home, a place that my children can grow up and graduate from high school from, a place that my wife and I could look back and say, this is where we vested ourselves in. This is kind of where we call our home. And so we're looking for a long-term ministry. And so I pray that as you guys are searching for a pastor, and as I am searching for a setting to serve, that we will find that right fit. One thing that you need to know about my style of ministry that's very important is I'm very ecumenical. I don't think that God just works in the Christian churches and churches of Christ. I think God works in Baptist churches and Presbyterian churches and Methodist churches. And I think that if I was your pastor, I would be very involved in an ecumenical or ministerial association, participating in joint Thanksgiving services and community sunrise Easter services. That goes to the heart of my ministry. I think that that the church, the big church with the big C, is very important, and I don't think God just works within the confines of one particular church setting, that God needs to use all of our churches in a particular community to advance His kingdom.